Hi everyone, I am Rahul. So today I am going to solve one of the Leetcode problems related to recursion and backtracking. So the problem name is subsets. So let's go through this problem once. Here we are given an integer array nums of unique elements. We have to return all possible subsets, basically the power set. And solution must not contain duplicate subsets, and we can return the solution in any order. So in this nums array, the elements are unique, so that solves a lot of problems for us. So we are given a nums array 1, 2, 3. So the possible subsets for this given array would be like we just consider a single element, that is 1, then single element 2, single element 3, or either we consider the element in pairs 1, 2, 2, 3, 1, 3, or either we consider all of the three elements. So this is a classic example of the recursion problem where we basically have two kinds of possibilities at each point of time. So like if we are going to iterate over this array, so suppose we are at index 0 in which the element is 1. So for us here the possibility is either we can consider this 1 to be a part of the solution or either we don't. So if we don't consider 1 to be a part of the solution, we then go ahead to the next index, we come to this element 2, then we have similar kind of decision to make, either we consider 2 in the solution or not. So this is how the recursion will work in this problem. So let's jump into the solution right away. So we have to return a vector of n. So I'm creating a vector of n. Let's name it answer here, right? And I have to create a temporary vector in which I will be holding the current answer, and the current answer will be pushed back to this vector of vector. So this is what I'm talking about. So this vector is basically going to hold whatever the values we are currently at. So I will write one helper function in which we will pass this original vector nums, this vector v, and then variable int which is initialized to 0. So I will tell you what this variable is when I am writing this function. So this helper function is basically going to return nothing, so it will be void this helper. This is the original vector, this is vector v, the temporary vector that we have created, and this the third parameter, let's call it index. So basically this index variable is used to create, like it's created because just to help us where we are currently at in the present nums vector. So we are given this vector, right, 1, 2 and 3. So if we have reached the end of the given vector, then basically it means that we don't have any other values left to iterate over, and whatever values are currently in the vector v, we can directly insert this vector v into the answer vector. So if index is equal to nums.size, so that means we have gone past the last element of the nums vector as well, then at that point we can just populate whatever the values we have in the vector v into the answer one. We can just return it directly from there. So as I mentioned in the beginning, we have two possibilities at each point of time. Either we consider the value at index, or either we don't consider it. So suppose, so here we have two possibilities, right? So the given vector is 1, let me write it this way, 1, 2 and 3, right? So for them the index will be 0, 1 and 2. So currently the index value is 0, we are at this element, so this element might be a part of the answer or it might not be. So if it is not a part of the answer, what we can do is we can keep on calling this helper function with index value as index plus 1. Nums will be the same, v will be same, and we can just pass it index plus 1. So it means that we have jumped onto the next index without considering 1 to be a part of the solution. So we have not pushed back this value into the vector v. So this is one part of the solution. The other possibility is we consider this element to be a part of the solution. So for that we can just push back value at index into the vector v, right? And we can again call the helper function vector v, and we can pass it with index plus 1, right? So these are the two possibilities, like we are jumping onto the next index without considering the value at the current index. This is the second possibility, but before that we have to push back whatever the value was there in the current index, right? So this is basically going to cover all the possible cases, and in this main function we can just directly return the answer variable. We don't have to do anything apart from this. So let me try running it. Yeah, there are no compilation issues. So as we can see, the first output, like the first element in the answer vector, is the empty one, because the first possibility that we have considered is we don't consider the element, and until we reach the end of the nums vector we don't basically push back into the answer one. So once we reach the end, we basically push back whatever the values are there in the vector v into our answer vector. So initially the answer vector would be empty, so that's why the first element of this answer vector is a empty vector. And so let me try submitting it as well. Yeah, so this one is a submitted. So this was a very basic example of recursion and backtracking. So I will recommend, like, just to keep on practicing these kind of problems as well, because sometimes we directly jump onto complex problems, and once we are not able to solve them, like, our morale goes down. So keep on practicing these simple problems as well, and until next time I will see you around. Thank you.